How's it going? What a palaver the last few days have been, eh? Crikey. Thanks for bearing with the delay by a day of this week's chat. Yesterday just turned into a bit of a shit show, but here we are, and a little bit late. I told Monisha Rajesh, who's my friend joining me this week, who's the author of this book, that I was running about 10 minutes late, bless her. But look, thank you for joining me, and thank you for tapping on the screen and stuff. Hi Vicky, how's it going? Hi Anya, small but scrappy's in the house. Hi Dewey, how's it going? Hi Zelza. Yeah, oh, hi from Berlin. Excellent. I love that we have an international reach. Of course, all my repeated delays of putting Monisha off have made her gone AWOL on WhatsApp. So I'm just messaging her right now saying, I am live bastard. There you go. But yeah, Monisha Rajesh is an incredible writer, but we know each other mainly through crazy drunken nights out and literary friends. And this is her book, Around the World in 80 Trains. Ah, here she is, viewing her request. Requestings. Hi B, how are you? Lovely to see you pop up. Hi Rix. Hi Chandu. Magara, lovely to see you.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
You look great. Look at you all done up and stuff.
This is the first day that I have been out of sweatpants. Okay, still in sweatpants.
Acha. I'm wearing trousers.
Oh, you're putting me to shame. How was your shit?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Hang on. 1 second.
Oh.
One second. Sorry, it's just all happening. It's all happening. The last couple of days have been chaotic, so my whole cycle has been pushed back. So my regular pre-game poopings, says your phone. This has started off so well. My regular pre-game poopings has taken a bit of a delay. So yeah,
good.
Alas, but it
For
was a
any
great
of
poop.
my friends who just joined this is Nerm. This is what you're going to get for the next half an hour or so.
Yeah.
If you want to back out now, do so. Otherwise,
It's what it is. It's what it is. And also,
it is what it is.
Thank you for agreeing to do this a day late as well. Saved my ass a bit from yesterday's mayhem. Right. But yeah,
No
which
problem.
I'll tell you about afterwards. Fucking hell. But I got my nails done. Look.
I didn't even get a chance to do that.
So you're not wearing trousers properly, and you haven't even done your nails.
I'm wearing sweats, and I've got a bit of under eye concealer on to hide the.
I got some under armpit deodorant on. Yes.
Do you know what? I am sweating so badly right now. I want to open the window, but we've got 8 train tracks outside, and it's very loud. So.
Which is appropriate. Hi Kaveri. Hi Nikesh. Big up Nikesh Shukla, fellow writer, massive of your
Indeed.
crew. And hi Dewey. Woo. But I was going to say actually, like talking about train tracks behind your house, isn't that ideal?
Can I stop you for 1 second? I've just seen Jamie Lafferty has joined, who I feel like should actually take over some kind of presenting job at some point. I will send you a link to the travel awards that we had a few months ago, where Jamie just got absolutely. He's a man after his own heart. Jamie got battered and basically reported the awards as they were happening live. It is the best thing that I have.
What's his name? I'm going to do Googlings now. I'll do Googlings. What?
Jamie Lafferty.
Yeah, what?
He's I think maybe Travel Journo on Instagram.
Jamie Lafferty sounds like a right laugh. Lafferty. I'm laughing hard. I will be laughing after this.
You will be laughing hard. It was quality TV. So I'll send you the link after we're done here.
Nice, thank you. But yeah, like I was saying, so fellow writers in the house, big up, whole literary crew. And I was going to make a joke about you living by train tracks and all your books being about fucking trains. But I want to reload a little bit, rewind back. So how the fuck we know each other? Because I've got this whole crew of writer friends. Nikesh I've known for years. But there's this whole thing that happened through, I think, Jeet Thayal in Bombay, and then various other writers that snowballed into Tanuja as well. Big up Tanuja. Is that how we met?
Yeah, I think it was through Tanuja.
Huh.
Through Tanuja and Jeet. We definitely met through Jeet. Jeet was in
right.
there somewhere.
And then it snowballed to William Dalrymple, Hanif Qureshi, and
lots of crossovers.
all those people that write about brown things, but you are the exception because you do not write about brown things. You're a brown woman that drops her phone all the time.
Sorry, this is really pissing me off. I have to hide in here because my kids have just come back from nursery and they're in the living room, dining room, whatever. And I have to hide in my bedroom I've got a bin turned upside down. And I've got a
proper jugaad, man,
box on top of it that's trying to keep it all. What the drinks are? Nerm is probably drinking whiskey. I've got a big glass of
just boring Jack Daniels.
Oh, I've got a really nice Pinot Noir from M&S because I live in London. It's not bad.
Proper. You could, yes, that's a proper upgrade from Birmingham drinking in New Street Station.
I've also got an Emma Bridgewater plate with some sausage on it, which my kids nicked half of it, but it's good. It's very good.
So basically, this whole conversation has been derailed by your phone just fucking falling over, which is
probably
awesome.
going to do it again, so just...
That's totally fine. But yeah, so listen, anyway, going back to your whole fucking thing about being the one person that we all know that doesn't write about brown shit, but is the most brownest shit. But no, yeah, like, you're a brown female travel writer, which is a fucking rarity. It's like finding a unicorn.
Which is true. No, you're right. Sorry, I'm just going to do my sausage and keep talking. I don't write about being brown. Not a conscious thing. I'm a travel writer. And so when I started writing, my first book happened to be about India. Just because,
oh, fuck. That was totally a brown thing. My whole premise is fuck now. You went to India and wrote about brown things.
Well, I wrote about India. But I didn't write about being brown in India. I just wrote about being a tourist in India. I spent 4 months traveling around India by train. I wrote about all the amazing people that I met there. And also about, obviously, my own personal relationship with the country. But it wasn't ever a case of, I don't know where my roots are. I need to find my roots. My roots are in London.
No, they're not. They're in Birmingham, you lying bastard.
Not strictly true. So, I was born in Norfolk. And I moved to Hull, like the real bum hole of the north. And then I moved to Sheffield. And then after Sheffield, I moved back to Birmingham. No, from Sheffield, I went to India when I was 9. Spent 2 years living in Madras. Then I came back, went back to Sheffield, went back to Hull, and finally ended up in Birmingham when I was 14. So actually, most of my life was spent growing up in Yorkshire. And then,
but the whole fake ID and sneaking into clubs thing was definitely Birmingham.
That was all Birmingham. Those are the domes.
That's the most important bit. That's kind of what I mean.
And then came back. So my India book was basically about me having not been to India for probably, I've got like the occasional wedding and stuff, but I've never really gone fully and seen India. Like, all my friends had seen India and been on gap years and whatnot.
So did you do that as like a white middle class approach to it? Like, I'm going on a gap year to India to discover my heritage.
No, it really was. It really was. It was a kind of, I haven't been there properly for 20 odd years. I had a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth because my parents and I, we had a really shit time when we were there. My brother ended up in boarding for Canal. It was awful. It was really.
I just want to say though, but India with family for me has always been a fucking nightmare. As soon as I went there for work in like the late 90s, 2000, it was fucking. I saw the country in a whole other way. So going on your own,
no, you do.
It's got to be done.
So every time I went to India, it was going to Madras, now Chennai.
I was going to say, you call it Madras instead of Chennai, which I find really fascinating.
For me, it's Madras. It's Madras. I lived in Madras as a kid. I spent 2 years in Madras. Every time we go back, it's Madras. Because Madras and Chennai are two different places. In the same way that, Bombay and Mumbai are two different places. You feel
yeah, because I love Bombay.
You know them. You know what it means.
Yeah, totally.
So whenever we go back, we go to Madras. We see all the Madrasis, all our family friends. And we go to Hyderabad, which is where my mum's from. But that's it. So until I was about 28, I'd never been to Delhi, I'd never been to Bombay, I'd never seen Taj Mahal, I'd never been to Rajasthan, I'd never been to any of those places, not Kerala, Goa. And I just thought, I need to go and do this. I need to go and explore my motherland properly. Like a tourist.
Why do I think you're a Guju like me?
Telugu.
I know, it's weird, you're a Southie, but why the hell do I think you're Gujarati? I make loads of Gujarati jokes at your expense for no reason. I don't understand why.
Fair skin, till that fair and lovely that I slapped.
Is it really? I'm darker than you, basket. How does that work? With a light ring, for fuck's sake.
But no, you're right. So that's what I did. I went and did a gap year, take my backpack. I'm just going to take a map and say I want to go to Goa, Kerala, Gujarat. I went to Gujarat, go to Assam. And I did it like a kind of gap year tourist. But the difference was that obviously I am brown, and
Yeah.
you know what it's like when you go there, when people look at you and they're like, "I know you're brown, but you're not one of us." I can tell.
I mean, look at me. Everyone says that to me wherever I go, including with these nails. I go to fucking Birmingham with these nails. They're like, what?
But that's what made it so fun, though, was the fact that I had that kind of inroad already of being an outsider and an insider, and I can understand vague. I can read and write Hindi from when I was at school. I could read and write Sanskrit. I can still understand Tamil. I can still understand bits of broken Telugu. So it made it different from all the other kind of white perspectives of traveling around India, which were the only ones I'd ever read. I had literally never read a book by a brown person about traveling around India. I'd read bits of Naipaul's Area of Darkness, which I just didn't enjoy. It just didn't resonate with me.
I was going to say, isn't Bits of Midnight's Children definitely about traversing India?
Book, not a travel.
Oh, that's true. It's a novel, isn't it? Of course.
In terms of travel writing, and so when I went there, I thought, is there even a market or a space for this? And clearly, of course, now there is. But
Chaitanya in the comments is saying he's reading around India and 80 trains right now. Big up, Chaitanya. But yeah, so clearly there is a market, and it's sold. And then you did a follow-up.
And then I did a follow-up, yeah. So the follow-up came, when did I do the first one? 2012, the first one came out, and then this one came out in 2019.
When did we meet then?
I don't know, 2015? 14.
Was it 14? Okay.
Yes, it was 2014.
So your book was already out. Because this is the most embarrassing thing about... Right. The most embarrassing thing about being friends with authors and writers is that with musicians, you can just put on their tracks in the background and just go, oh, yeah, I heard your album, or I heard your track, or I saw your...
Look up in the background and pretend that you've read it.
Yeah. I mean, shall I read the inscription? Shall I read out the inscription, or shall we just keep that private? Let's keep that private. But my point is that with my writer friends, it takes a lot of time to get through their work and to appreciate their work, And I feel bad that I haven't actually read the majority of my friends' books, which is awful. But yeah,
B knows what it's like. You're friends with everybody, and you have to kind of go, yeah, I don't know, I've read enough of your books. But Willie does it too. Willie does it all. I'm talking about William Dalrymple here, who's probably in bed at the moment in India.
Big Willie style, or Big Willie D as I call him, which is just fucking hilarious. Big Willie D.
Willie D has an amazing way of pretending that he's read everybody's books by, as he said himself, read enough from the front, read enough from the back, and a tiny bit in the middle. Make sure you quote the middle bit. And that's about it, really.
Is that the trick?
Yeah. That's his trick.
Shit. Do you know what's fascinating,
he will
right?
host panels with people without having read any of the books. And he puts lots of bookmarks in, so it makes it look like you've done it.
I mean, I got through Nikesh's book Brown Baby because he's like a dear close friend, and Brown Baby deals with a lot of shit, as you can imagine, right? So it's a fucking thing that resonates hard with a lot of people in terms of experiences, and it fucked me up good and proper. And I went into it, and it kind of was a bit, and then Satnam's book Empire Land was a great read, and I got into that. But then you helpfully gave me pointers about where to go in your next book, which is fucking great. And again, Chaitanya in the comments says, have you considered taking the Trans-Siberian Express?
I've done it.
And that's what I was going to say. Isn't that in this book? Exactly.
It's in the book.
So yeah, sorry, go your follow-up, which was in 2019. How did that happen?
So I did the travels in 2015. I wanted to do it after I did the India book. I knew that I wanted to do another one, but I wasn't sure where I could replicate that kind of journey again. Mainly because of language. That was going to be the big issue for me, because at least in India, more or less everyone could speak English, and I was absolutely fine navigating my way around. Also, for the kind of travel that I write, I need to be able to eavesdrop on conversation. I need to be able to listen to what other people are talking about. I need to be able to just wade in and follow what's going on and get people's stories from them. Right. And I couldn't think of another place where I could do that. I couldn't do it in China because I don't speak Cantonese or Mandarin. I couldn't do it in South America because my Spanish isn't good enough. My Portuguese is terrible. And I couldn't do it in Russia because I don't speak good enough Russian. And I just thought,
so you just went, fuck it, I'll do them all.
Yeah, basically. I went to my agent's office and we sat down together, and I've been to Stanford's travel shop in Covent Garden, and I just took out this giant map and I said, I just can't think of where to go. And he just said, well, could you do them all? And I said, what do you mean do them all? And he said, well, just do around the world. And I said, that's the most ridiculous suggestion, because that's just, it's going to be really full on, and no, that's terrifying. And he said, look, well, why don't you go home and just have a look at the rail routes and see how far you can get? So I did that, and I went back and I sort of looked from London. I realised that you could get from London to Singapore without actually leaving overground at all. And I thought, well, if I can get that far, let's see what else I can do. And it turned out that the real difficulty was just getting across borders. But for the most part, every country had some semblance of rail network, and I thought, let me just see how far I can get round and back again.
And I guess you've got this passport of being well spoken and English, so you can kind of navigate those terrains. And there's a lesser known fact about being dark skinned is that for me, I found it made me fit in way more places.
Sorry.
Amazing. I love it. It makes me feel a bit like we're going on a fucking roller coaster ride.
On a roller coaster down again. Sorry.
Fuck. But yeah, I was saying, I don't know whether you found this, but for me, traveling around the world of this hue, people can confuse me for whatever the fuck I am, wherever I am in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the Middle East or South America or whatever. So it's great. Yeah, I seem to blend in more.
Especially when the tanning starts, and then you end up really golden brown. And if you can get away with certain languages as well, yeah, no, it does. And people, more often than not, people are curious, and I'm absolutely fine with that. People are curious. They really want to know where you're from, because obviously you open your mouth and then they hear a different accent. And also because I was traveling with Jeremy, who is half Malaysian, quarter Lithuanian Jewish, and quarter Scottish. And
it's fucking hot though. Actually, we're talking about your partner, right? Who's just a hottie.
My husband, yeah.
Yeah, he's on fire. I think the first time I saw him, I wanted to lick his face. Sorry.
People can never place where he's from,
right?
And especially what I find quite entertaining was when we were on the Trans-Mongolian.
But also, it's hot, so it's kind of that disarms you a little bit.
Would you like to come
round?
Yeah,
your husband's hot, dude. Yeah, man. I'd touch him with yours. Anyway, carry on.
Amazing. Wonderful. He'll be very pleased to know he's a big fan. When we were traveling through Mongolia,
yeah,
people would start chatting to him in their own language when he was just sitting in various compartments, because they just assumed that that's where he was from. And it was quite entertaining when we were on a platform I think we were in Kanazawa in Japan, and he'd gone off to go and get some lunch, and I could see this guy coming towards me, and I waved at him. I was like, why are you going to a different platform? And I just kept waving. I was like, I'm here, you idiot. I was like, that's not my husband, that's a Japanese.
You massive racist prick. I can't believe that you mistook. Like that's fucked up, dude.
But he genuinely did blend into so many different races, and that's what comes from having so many different genes. But it's true. It's true. No,
they all look alike, don't they? You prat.
Oh
yeah, excellent.
Excellent. Other people would talk to him in Japanese on the train, and he would just. So I have no. I'm sorry, I'm not Japanese. I don't know what you're saying. But so that made us as a pair quite confusing to people. Because all around there was just this general, I have no idea where you two are from and what you're doing, but it was nice, it was good, and it made for great conversation and inroads to chats with people.
To new experiences. But there's two things, right? So Around India and 80 Trains, which is your first book, was written about you going solo across India on trains, right? And then you were saying earlier that the sequel, Around the World in 80 Trains, it sounded like a bit of a process you and your publisher had to go through, your editor rather, and. Wasn't it just fucking obvious? Because of Phileas Fogg and Around the World in 80 Days. Isn't it just an obvious thing to do? The world.
Well, do you know what? It was obvious. It actually was obvious, because I remember when I worked at the Week magazine in between books. Lovely place, lovely team. But I thought if I don't go do this travel now, someone else is going to go and do it. And my agent actually said, look, you've already set up Around India in 80 Trains. The next thing is just so obvious, and someone's going to go and do it, and you're going to be really mad if it's not you, because you can't copyright titles.
And I just want to say that anytime there's an article about someone catching a train somewhere, I know that I get a message going, fuck, it should have been me. Anytime there's anyone on any train thing on TV or fucking in the papers, it's just like, Argh! But yeah, the trains are your thing.
Yes, the TV stuff does irritate me, because it is so dominated by middle-aged white men striding along in Panama hats and red trousers, not to mention any names. And in fact, I will mention names. Tony bloody Robinson. So I had an email.
But Tony Robinson's fucking lovely. He had black hair before this. I mean, how are you going to fuck with Tony Robinson?
And this is not his fault at all, but this is his TV company. they got in touch with me about 2 years ago, just saying, hi Monisha, we just wondered if you might be interested in helping us out in a project we've got going. Sorry, just burping up a bit of wine and sausage there.
It's all right. I've been burping constantly. This mic's surely picking it up. But yeah.
And yeah, they did that old classic TV researcher thing of, we are going to be doing a series with Channel 5 called Around the World in 80 Trains, presented by
Fuck off. No fucking way. No way.
And
really?
we gather that you've got some experience in this. So would you be able to just help us out with figuring out the route? Thanks. That would be really brilliant. And I fucking hit the roof.
Fuck off. No way.
Just legal letter fired off straight away through my agent to them, just saying, what the actual fuck do you think you're doing? And of course there was that response of, well, it's just a working title and we don't really know what it's going to be called. And not really. So my book was due out about 3 months after that. So I was kind of having a sort of minor meltdown.
Oh, so it wasn't even out yet?
It wasn't out, but I'd done a column for the Telegraph called Around the World in 80 Trains. And if you Googled Around the World in 80 Trains, every single thing came up. My stuff. So it was very much kind of there and visible. But the crap thing is, you can't copyright titles, but you can trademark them.
Is that what you've done? I love how you froze just then. It's just frozen on Monisha's face. For me, at least, it's just like, you can copyright titles, and then frozen. Like, it's like a business secret of, I was going to say the Pharaohs. It's a Peep Show reference, but that's quite a deep secret. But I don't think it is. Monisha, can you hear me? No? Oh, well, until her system gets sorted out. Hi, thank you for joining us. Hi, Dev. How's it going, bro? Big up, Dev from Delhi. Yes. How are you all? Oh, she left. Oh, no. Right, so let's try and get her back. Cliffhanger. Yes, Lisa Maria. Absolutely. Let me try and find her again, and I'm going to send a request. I'm glad it was for you two. Thank you for highlighting that. Hello.
Come back. Sorry, that was really unnerving. You froze and then I vanished. I said, thank you for joining Nerm's Live. Like, I'm still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. I trademarked it.
Oh, good. So you own it. Excellent.
So when Tony Robinson's TV series came out, it was called Around the World by Train with Tony Robinson. And that was it.
But you know what? That's a typical thing, right? I think that there's this whole issue that I've had over the last few years where I've realized, hey!
Fuck's sake. I'm back. You know, I'm just gonna hold it. I'm just gonna hold it and hope for the best. There we go.
Have you not got something you can put in front of the phone to stop it leveraging it?
Do you know what? That's a very sensible idea. I think I will do that. I'm gonna put something in front of it. What have I got?
Where's your brown ingenuity? Where's your jughad?
There you are.
Nice.
Sorry,
there you go.
Brilliant. I've got a Peppa Pig book now that's propping the whole thing up. Brilliant.
Awesome. And is someone also downloading stuff in your house?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Oh, you've cleared up, so that's good. But yes, so what was I getting at? Yeah, TV researchers and researchers in media channels in general that try and ask for input for free so that they can produce shows and beg your pardon, I just burped badly. But you know that researcher and everyone on the show is getting paid, but you that provides the meat of the show will get fuck all. It's
nothing. So yeah,
it's deeply annoying.
So we issued a cease and desist, and it was all gone. So there was none of that. But yeah, you know, this happens. But the thing is, I guess you just have to look at it as a kind of flattery, and just take it as it comes, because this stuff happens all the time. But it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to actually be kind of known as a train specialist now, and I like that. I like the fact that when people think of trains, they come to me, and
that's good.
Good, rather than.
But
sorry, go on.
No, go on. You were saying rather than thinking.
No, I was going to say, just, you know, one of the things that I found was difficult when I started out as a journalist was people trying to box me in, like we were saying at the beginning, with getting to write about brown topics and being Asian and from a woman's and more often than not, I had to do so much research around those pieces because I really, I remember looking through a bunch of my lines at the Guardian once, and there was I'd done a piece about the Delhi gang rape, I'd done a piece about women's menstruation at the temples in India, and I thought there are people out there much better places writing about this than me. First of all, I don't live in India. I happen to be a brown woman. That's about as far as it goes. And I thought, if I don't stop saying no to these pieces, That's going to be my journalism career from now on, and that is not.
You'll forever be the brown talking head. Yes.
And by that point, I'd actually done my book. I'd already done my train stuff, and I thought, you're not asking me to write about train travel and travel generally. You're asking me to write about what it's like to be an Indian woman in India, and I'm not. And apart from me thinking this is imposter syndrome, because I know plenty of people that could do these pieces better than I could and much more accomplished than I could. I want to write about trains, so I did spend a long period pushing back, and I didn't write for a long time because I would just keep letting people realize that I could write about train travel and travel generally, and that I managed to.
It's fucking great that you had the strength to realize that without just sort of grabbing any career paths, because it took me a while. So I ended up on, like, at the peak of it when I was on Radio 1 and stuff and doing loads of TV shit as well. I ended up on Richard and Judy talking about Slumdog Millionaire, and I was like, why the fuck am I on here? Yeah, no. It was a whole thing. Oh, mate, it was a whole thing. And I was just like, this mainstream shit about being a brown face, about brown topics, I couldn't handle. Like, much hats off to my friends and our friends that can do that. But I just couldn't deal with it. I was just, it was something where those subject matters just tended to be so fucking limiting that I just couldn't deal with it. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to wear nail varnish on Instagram, my mates instead. 20 years later.
It's the fact that whenever you read all these fun pieces in the papers, and it's about people talking about their, this is what I did at the weekend, and here's why I really like yellow socks. I like yellow socks, man. And
yeah.
When I was writing a piece in the Evening Standard about wearing adult orthodontics, and at that point I worked at the Evening Standard. I was like, I've had adult orthodontics. I've done, dancing at this random joint. Send me off to do this stuff. But
absolutely.
They would ask me to do Bhangra night. I'm like, no.
I think also it's that. I think it's that kind of idea that, or it's a corrective idea of, like, well, we need a brown person to talk about this brown subject, so let's join those dots and it's done. But it's much more nuanced than that, right? Of course. And I think it just becomes exhausting having that imposed on you. So I think we discussed, like, when I was talking to Satnam Sanghera about his book Empire Land, he can also write about whatever the fuck he wants to in the Times. Whereas with Nikesh Shukla's stuff, it's been like a wall to wall of just brown shit. And he's like, right, I'm fucking done. I'm writing comedy and I'm fucking done. I've made my point. I've had a decade of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, you want to. And also, I think a lot of it, like we said before, is distraction. And really what you want to be writing about travel or making music or doing comedy shows. And all of this as a kind of, sideline you. And you've got to push back. I mean, a lot of I have all power to the people that do this and fight back, because it's exhausting, it's tiring. But yeah, it's just not something I'm.
But also it's nice when it's on your own fucking terms. Do you know what I mean? When it's not fucking a quota to fill. When you're like, well, this is. So I'll give you an example. Something that I've been constantly thinking about is, like, the lack of brown role models in Birmingham growing up, and my love of Prince and how he filled that void of being, not exactly your typical heterosexually straight-looking dude, skinny, brown, and poor, or from a poor background. I was like, fuck, that's a role model, in Birmingham. And that does equate to my roots. But it's not something I'm pressurized to talk about in that framework. Whereas if I was, I'd most likely tell them to fuck off, and I wouldn't talk about it because of that pressure almost.
Absolutely.
So you went to your agent, you mapped out the whole route for this book.
Yeah.
You took your partner, so you weren't solo.
Yeah, so we just got engaged. We got engaged in January, and we were never planning on doing this trip together. I was always going to go and do it on my own for about 7-8 months, and I just said to Jeremy, I'm going to take off as soon as I get my deal signed and sorted. And he said, great, I'll come and do bits and pieces here and there along the way. And that was always meant to be the plan. I was going to go and do this trip by myself. And then as it got sort of closer and closer to the time of me leaving, he would sort of look at my map and be like, you're going to Japan, and you're going to Tibet, and you're going to North Korea. And then one day he just said, you know what, can I come? I said, what, for the whole thing? And he said, yeah, we've got 8 months.
Not just that evening. That was a terrible joke.
Just the worst human being, Nerm. Anyway, he decided that he wanted to just quit his job and come do the whole thing. He's not very happy in his career. He wanted to take time out and think about what he wanted to do. In a fortunate position where we could I say we, where he could rent out his flat, where I'm
Yeah.
supporting his partner. And so yeah, we decided to go do it together, and it was. I think the thing I found really interesting about this, and I have found very interesting since, is the way people respond to the fact that I had my husband now having come with me.
Mm-hmm.
Even in a few reviews that people wrote, they said, I remember one quite famous travel writer, woman travel writer, it was the only snarky review that I got actually, said she begins the book by saying that her husband's coming with her because of her fears of traveling, which is not actually true. And she said it's a demoralizing start to a book by a woman. And I thought, wow, that's a very presumptuous thing.
What was the actual starting? I didn't get that at all. I didn't get that from the start of this.
Well, no, that's not why he came with me. He came with me because I thought it was really fun to travel with my fiance and do all. Yes, it was. Yes, Caroline, you're absolutely right. That's exactly who it was. Caroline knows that it was Sarah Wheeler who said it's a demoralizing start to a book by a woman. And for me, I didn't bother reading the rest of the review, though apparently my publisher said it was quite a good one. But still, I thought it was a really stupid comment to make when you're a white woman, so you don't understand that when you're received in most countries.
Sarah, I mean, sorry, Eden Travels. I am reading it. Sorry,
Caroline's a dude.
Caroline. Oh no, are you telling me to read? No, read the review. Sorry, I will. Okay. Yeah.
She said bloody read it. Yeah. So this review was really snarky, and I thought you don't understand that the genuine fears that I have as a brown woman traveling around are very valid, but you wouldn't know what that feels like because you have never felt that. You've never felt what it's like to be a different color somewhere. And if you are a white person in a brown country, you're generally received in a kind of very welcoming and let's put some garlands around your neck and touch your feet because we're very excited that we have a white person here. And I just didn't bother reading the rest of it.
Monisha, you're glitching out quite hard. Hi, Gessie. Hi, everyone. Hi, Hi, Rajni. How are you? So I think Monisha's internet connection is kind of fucked. Let's see if it will return. Monisha, I've got a plan, which might entail sort of restarting your phone because this is all glitching. I missed all of that. I'm sorry, love. Hello? Right. I'm going to restart this chat and I'm going to message Monisha to reset her phone and router and stuff and sort out stuff at home. Let's try this again, right? You know what? Also, I've got to change this welcome. I can't just go hello or hi. I've got to sort of switch that up. So I guess I'll just say bonjour. Nah, that sounds rubbish too. But anyway, we're back. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Well, me right now, because it's just me. I'm waiting for Monisha Rajesh to join me again to follow on our conversation because technology got the better of us, alas. And I make this joke all the time about how brown people are meant to be really fucking good at IT, but we are shit, clearly. Let me just adjust this camera. There you go. Yeah. Yep, she did. Hi, Crank is me. Hey, I Am Still Truth, amazing producer in the house. Go follow I Am Still Truth, incredible. Worked with Pavan, and Pavan's record is here. The new one is out now. Go buy this record. Look at this, lovely marblings. Right, oh, Monisha's here. I've got to stop plugging shit. There we go. Go, Monisha. Aha. Also, I'm very impressed with my nails. Still, like little mirrors. Imagine if you're like 5 little drug addicts.
Nerm.
Hi.
Do you know what my 3-year-old just said?
What?
Fucking? What does he mean?
Chat was to sort of have a bit of alone time, drinking with an idiot. That's all it was.
Because I need to have a little bit of a breather and just have a glass of wine. And
how cute! Oh, they're so sweet, though. That's really sweet.
They're very sweet. They're very sweet. They're very entertaining at this age. They're good laughs.
Oh. And also, yeah, you know, Hot Jeremy, big up.
Yeah, big up Hot Jeremy, who's changing some shitty nappies right now. Anyway,
so
Sarah Wheeler, we talked about Sarah Wheeler's review. Yeah. So the reviews that came after that, when people talked about
taking Hot Jeremy with you on the tour for
him with me on
this.
the trip. Yeah. So
Actually, what do you call it? A tour or a what do you call it?
book research. This was like 7 months of, yes, of course we were traveling around the world by train, and there was a lot of fun in between. But God, it was hard work. Like of the 7 months of travel.
Did you play Erotica on every journey by Madonna?
We didn't do that.
Because, you know, I want to make love on a train, cross country. Erotic, erotic.
You really wouldn't want to do that either.
No,
You're
they're quite
sharing
nasty.
compartments with strangers, so it's definitely not something that you
Fair
should
enough.
be doing. Apart from the Orient Express, that's good.
Hi.
You got and maybe on the Trans-Siberian as well before anybody else came into the compartment.
It's a whole new sort of mechanism of dogging.
I literally never ever admitted this to anybody before. Errol, can you just go outside for 2 seconds, because I'm just gonna have a quick chat.
This is now public, by the way, and this is recorded and saved. So yeah, there you go.
What are you gonna do?
Your next book should be how to do touchings on trains.
How to do touchings on trains. So anyway, there was this kind of concept of, oh, she's taken her husband and gone traveling. Do you know how many male travel writers have taken their wives and partners and girlfriends on trips through the, since the dawn of time?
And never write about it, though. They'd never mention their spouses or their partners, right?
They don't mention them being in, and occasionally they would, William Dalrymple, it is his City of Gins. Olivia's a key character all the way through the book.
And well, as Olivia, or as a different person?
No.
She's called something else,
Olivia,
right?
as his wife.
Okay.
So Olivia's always featured there. Even when he wrote, his first book, in Xanadu, he has his.
I haven't read.
Oh, so in Xanadu, I've read very much. I read it before I did my travels, and in Xanadu, he is dumped by his girlfriend right before he goes to do his trek right across, and he breaks up the journey halfway. He has this fantastic kind of very, very stoic, very typically English woman who comes with her, who is actually, I think, Laura Wade Geary, who's now the CEO of M&S.
By the way, are you just dropping truth? Like, are you breaking stories left, right, and centre in all of our conversations?
No,
This is public knowledge.
No, this is all common knowledge.
Okay, good, because it's not about that on these chats, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah.
So Laura Wade Geary travelled with him halfway,
Mm-hmm.
and then his girlfriend joins him for the second half, and they're both written into the story. They're very much featured throughout in Xanadu. So, Ranulph Fiennes, his wife, is a really key part of all of his journeys. She does a lot of the documentation. She organises loads of the stuff, and no one ever comments on that. So
travel writers typically do talk about their traveling partners.
Yeah. A lot of male travel writers have their partners there, and I mean Jeff Dyer. If you've ever read any of Jeff Dyer's books, his book Yoga for People Who Can't Be Bothered to Do It is one of my favorite travel books. And in every single chapter, there is a different girlfriend or different woman or different shag. But nobody ever comments in reviews on the fact that he's got women with him throughout the whole time. But when a woman travels with a partner, it's immediately like a family holiday, or they're just having a bit of a jolly, and it's so striking.
And if you had like different partners or a lad in every port, you can see the perspective that would come from that.
Yeah, of course. 100%.
Which is really fucked. It's just like, yeah, that's shit.
But also, I think there is a massive focus on solo traveling for women, and there's a lot of emphasis on women solo travelers at the moment, and people writing pieces about it. And yes, I absolutely agree that solo travel is amazing. It's wonderful. I've done it. You get so much out of it. But at the same time, it's really fun traveling with family and traveling with your partners and traveling with your friends. I mean, we all do it. When you go on holiday, you don't leave your wife behind. You take.
But how do you turn that into something interesting to write about then, as well, without getting too involved in the interpersonal interactions?
Yeah, absolutely. And also having Jeremy being with me on the trip made a huge difference, in the sense that, it's not like we went everywhere together. We didn't wake up in the morning and go out and meet the same people and go to the same places and do everything attached to the hip at all. I would often go off and do my own thing, and then we'd meet late in the evening and discuss what we'd done. And he would have met completely different people. He'd have been to different sites. He'd have had a completely different experience from me. And even on trains, I'd wake up in the morning and he'd just be in the dining car chatting to people, or he'd just be standing in the doorway making, inroads with people, and then I'd rejoin and chat. And it was a really nice medium that helped me eavesdrop on conversations, make
Right.
notes, do all that
So
kind of stuff.
it was like another like sort of a satellite source almost.
Completely. And he would make notes about different things. He'd take photos while I was doing, interviews with people, and he'd just wander off and, come back and say, I've just found this incredible restaurant. Let's go and do that later. So it wasn't like I had, it was not a holiday. It was
Yeah.
but it was not a holiday.
I mean, I often sort of say that going to a festival with like a significant other or a partner for me is like I can't picture it. Or going on tour for like festivals or going on tour to America or India or whatever. The work personal balance is quite difficult to maintain.
Sure.
So how the hell do you do that on a journey like this? Or is that just something that's been accepted with you, both of you?
Well, I people find it really hard to believe, but I was working the whole time. I mean, I was doing a column for the Telegraph while we were traveling. And so I made my notes the whole time. I was photographing, I was interviewing people, I was, just generally sitting in the train windows and constantly my mind was always focused on the fact that this is a book. These are chapters that need to be built from every
and Jeremy was just busy being hot and happy.
He was just doing his thing. He was just kind of, there in the background. He was wandering off to meet people. He was eating. He was having a nap. He was reading up on the places that we were in. And every time we reached a hotel after, every 3 or 4 days, he would just disappear. And it was crap because we'd been in these amazing hotels and I'd be there sitting at the desk, filing copies, sending stuff back to, the desk back in London. And he'd be, down by the pool. And he'd often say, do you mind me going off and basically having an amazing time here? And I'd say, just go and do it. You're not working. This is fine. But at the same time, he was doing various contract work along the way. So we were actually working. And we literally did not even lie on a beach once during that 7 months, even though we went to some incredible places. Because I was so conscious of having to find stories and just do stuff all the time. I really had to be mindful of this because it's very easy to slip into that kind of, well, this is fun, we're in Lake Como, let's just go eat and lie on a pontoon and
do some touchings and do some funnings. Yeah,
exactly.
But you have to do the right things, which is just fucking it astounds me, the discipline.
And in fact, for the month that I was traveling around Europe, I started to get a bit panicky because the trains were really efficient, they were fast, they were punctual, they were clean, they were lovely, no one spoke to anyone, and there was nothing for me to write about. And I had a few meltdowns when I thought, I have nothing here. I've got no material. I've got nothing of any interest to people. Like, sure, there's some, fun stuff, but nothing that's going to make my readers think, God, I really need to know about this. And I have to always be thinking this might be fun and interesting for me, but it might not be for the people who are going to pick up my book.
Yeah.
So, it's a constant. Travel books are a lot of work. They are, any travel writer knows that it's not a kind of holiday. It's anything but a holiday. When I came back, I really needed one by the end of that because it was such a full-on journey. And even especially towards the end of the book, or the end of the journey, we went to Tibet and we went to North Korea and Kazakhstan and came back to the south of Russia, which was one of the most taxing parts of the trip. Like, we were the end of this journey, which had been it was physically really taking its toll on us. But going into North Korea for 10 days and then coming back, we were really ill. And when you're sick and doing this kind of planned out journey, you just have to keep going.
How was it being ill in North Korea? Because I'm just at the beginning of that.
So, not fun. Fortunately, we were sick when we came out and spent a week in Beijing just kind of lying in a friend's bedroom, very unwell.
Because I'm at the bit where you've got one chap on your group where, spoilers, by the way. So, should I say this? Fuck, because I realize people are reading your book right now in the comments. So, like, yeah, if you're reading a book right now and you don't want to know, then I guess, sorry.
It's okay. It's been out a couple of years. It's probably all right.
Fair enough. But there's that bit where there is a chap who's been to North Korea a few times and talks about how it's changed and how the food was inedible at first, but now it's completely edible. Was that the same experience you had? Was it the food that got you ill, or what was it?
It probably was, actually. It's not fun. Oh, thanks, Caroline. Caroline's heading off now. Caroline's a very, very good travel writer and a lovely person.
Big up, Caroline.
Who will definitely know what some of these things are like. But yeah, it was North Korea was a funny one. It's a really unnerving place to travel in. And I don't say that lightly because I've been to some quite extraordinary places, but North Korea it's unnerving in the sense that you usually have a frame of reference when you're traveling in a country, and you can go back to a book or you can Google something and you can look it up at the time and find out where you are and what's going on. But in North Korea, you can't. You have no internet access unless you've paid an absolute fortune in advance to have a bit of 3G. You so many like pages are blocked. You can't read anything. I didn't even have my phone on for 10 days. So you just have to see what you're looking at and take it for the surface value. You can't even ask the guides what is actually going on over there. You just have to accept whatever line they feed you.
Yeah.
And then hope that you're not kind of completely misunderstanding what's going on. And you have to just assume that you're not, you know, reading into things, you're not projecting too much. It's hard. It's really hard. And you come away really not having a very strong idea of what you've seen or what you've done, and whether you've just been completely duped the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something that I'm really glad that we did, because when I came away, I realized that there is just so much bullshit written about the country.
Yeah.
There's a lot of propaganda in all the tabloids because they just love seizing on anyone who's been there, and then they can sell them some really, you know, fantastical story. But at the same time, you know, there's a lot to be said for actually being around people there who don't ever get to see anyone from another country. To, you know, we got to play pool with, you know, random people in a hotel wearing vests, smoking and drinking whiskey, and it was nice. It was like, you know, being in the Gymkhana club in Madras. It was very fun. But and I think the important thing about, I mean, there's a lot of controversy about traveling in places like North Korea. You can say so many things about the ethics of it and morals of playing into these coffers of these dictators. But when you actually come face to face with these people, and they've done nothing wrong, they have done nothing wrong to be on the receiving end of this kind of treatment.
Not the dictators, but the people you're talking about.
The people that you're meeting, yeah. You know, the citizens of North Korea, the people who have done nothing to be under this rule and can do nothing to get out of it. For them to have interaction with other people, I feel is really important, so that it's those tiny human interactions where we got to join in on a square dance, we got to play pool with them, we got to do 10-pin bowling with them, even though the skittles just fell out of the thing and just clattered all over the floor every time their things fell. And the guy would emerge from the back and tidy them all up and put them in. It's that sort of stuff. And
that sounds vaguely like sort of Indian, I want to say. That sounds like some shit that would go down in India in the 80s. I can totally see that happening. Yeah.
And you come away and you just think, you know what, there's this like kind of universal humanity of stuff that you recognize, and it's a nice feeling. Like when you literally just going past someone in the countryside on a bike and you wave from the window and they look really nervous and then they just kind of wave back, and you think that moment is what it's worth. It's worth doing those things.
Because that guy will get dragged off and shot for waving at you.
For waving at you, yeah, probably.
It's like, why are you cajoling? Cajoling, is that a word?
Cajoling.
Cajoling. How do you say cajoling? Why are you making, like, you know, gestures at foreigners when you're not meant to? Yeah. I think that's it. The other thing that struck me was there was this one moment when I was in Cuba waiting for a plane, and there's a description of you at a train station in North Korea, and they're very similar. The sort of the scope and the scale, and the lack of people, and just for one flight was a mad contrast. And also, like, I think we spoke when I went to China, and I ended up in, where was it? In Beijing, where it started. Yeah, it was Beijing, and the train station in Beijing is enormous, and you were just a font of knowledge about what to do and where to go, what to eat, and this, that, and it was just, it was something else.
It's great, and I think that's why I love doing what I do, because it's those little details when you're reading travel books. You think, I just want to know what's the restaurant in that station that does the best, you know, xiaolongbao, or when I go there myself one day, what is it I'm just gonna find out from here? So it's just really fun.
Get around all the security things. But so why trains, by the way? Are you just an absolute fucking nerd? Were you a train spotter and shit in Birmingham, like at New Street, those dudes with the notebooks and stuff?
No, not at all. In fact, even when I did the India book, I didn't care about trains, and I'm a bit wary of saying this to people that, you know, absolutely love the railways, but I didn't. I just knew that when
sorry, this is like Harrison Ford not giving a shit about Star Wars.
No, exactly. I didn't care about trains. I didn't grow up next to a railroad. I didn't have a railroading family. I didn't care about trains at all. It's just that when I wanted to go to India, there was a rail pass for 90 days that cost 350 quid. And it included, this is the Israel pass, which no longer exists. It was £350 for 90 days, second class sleeper, and all your food. Why would you not go by train? It's amazing.
So you basically did the Indian gap year equivalent of interrailing and wrote a fucking book about it.
No, I did. That's exactly what I did. And it cost me, I think my whole trip for 5 months cost me probably like 1,500 quid. And I could eat, all my food was included on board. My sleeper services were included. It's second class as well, which is, you know, one down from the top. And I
No
had
shit.
access.
No, no, no. I just want to say that's the most obvious fucking thing that I've ever heard anyone say. Sorry, sorry. Please continue because I'm just still cracking up about that.
Come on, traveling in first class is the most ridiculous thing to do. You cannot travel in first class because you do not meet anybody. You're
Okay.
just cooped up in a little compartment by yourself in your air conditioning, being a complete asshole.
So I went
You
on.
cannot travel on an Indian train and say, I don't want to be around anybody.
So I went to. I think this is 2002, 2003. I went to from Bombay to Goa on first class AC because I had this gig to do, and I just wanted to get to the fucking thing and do some work. It wasn't. I didn't care about the journey. You know, I wasn't waxing poetic about it. I just wanted to get the fuck there and get to my fun times and do my gig, which is also work, as we discussed. Traveling around, trying to writing about it, still work, but also going on tours work. But you know, there are fun times to be had. And on the train, I was like right under the fucking AC duct, blowing cold air, and I was ill for 2 days, and I couldn't do my gig. So I've got this whole aversion to first class AC.
That is another one of the reasons why I didn't travel in first class, because you end up really, really, really cold and shivering. Whereas outside, it's hot, it's lovely, the sun is shining. In first class, you've got tinted windows, it's freezing cold, you have no idea what's going outside, and you're missing the best bit of the journey.
And
that's what I like the train. Because you get to talk to everybody in second class, third class, you get to sit in the doorways, it's going slow enough, you can sit in the door with a cup of chai. You can get your chicken lollipops popping up and down the train. You get your samosas, you get your biryani, you get to talk to everybody. You get to see everything that's going on. And I'm writing a travel book. Everybody wants to know what it's like to be there. They want to know what it feels like to sit on that step. They want to know what that tea tastes like. They want to know how much those chicken lollipops cost. They want to see where you are and what you're doing. And that's the really key thing about travel writing. You have to bring your reader there. So while I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, what's the food like? What's conversation like? What's someone else going to want to know if they're going to be here? And I've got to run around and find out all those things. I've got to do my homework. I've got to make sure that if I'm going to write about this, I am the specialist on it. And I can tell you everything from the ticket price to what you're seeing outside the windows. So I can't get on and sleep from...
You've got to be bulletproof because someone will poke holes in that shit and then you're fucked.
You can't do it, especially with something like trains where, oh my God, every single line that you write, there is someone out there that can pull a hole into it and say, well, hang on a minute, actually the train timing is wrong and this sets at 5:32 and the sun rises at 4 a.m. You will get pulled up on it. So you've got to be absolutely watertight with what you write. And
you haven't got the veil of fiction where you're making this shit up. No, and you can say, well, that's artistic license. It's got to be factual.
Right? A lot of travel writers are very famous for doing this. Like Bruce Chatwin is known for making up a lot of stuff, and that's just something I'm not willing to do, because if I call my book non-fiction, then it's non-fiction. Otherwise I can call it a novel and say it's fiction, and I will just make up whatever the hell I want. But you could probably get away with doing that 20 or 30 years ago, but now it takes a heartbeat for someone to just say, I've got video footage of this place. I can tell you right now that shop isn't there, these people don't work there, that's not their name, that's not the phone number. You know, with the internet and Twitter and social media and everything else around, you can't make stuff up anymore. And I think that's a really good thing. I think if you're going to say, I'm a non-fiction writer and I've been out here and I've done my research, you've got to be honest to your readers about what you're seeing and what you're doing. Because you can get called out. You can get called out. And I appreciate that with travel writing, sometimes you have to move things around to have a strong narrative. So I might have got on a train from Bombay to Goa and found nobody in my compartment. There was no one to talk to. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing was going on. I just arrived and it was brilliant. But that's not a fun chapter to read.
So what do you write about in that case?
I'd move somebody into my compartment. A conversation that I've had with somebody a couple of days later, I move them into my compartment for that.
Oh, so you don't wax lyrical about like sort of the scent in the air or the fucking view out the window or some shit like that?
No, I could a little bit, but I'll then bring in something that is of interest. And just, if I maybe had 7 conversations in one train journey, which was an hour long, I'll then move maybe 2 of those into another chapter. So I still had the same conversation, word for word, verbatim, this is what happened. And I won't make any of that up. And I record most of my conversations as well. I have my iPhone out, and I would often ask people, would you mind if I just do this, because I'm not very good at taking notes? And they'd usually say fine. So I just record the whole thing and I transcribe it word for word. and I put that together afterwards. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because ultimately my job is to create a good book that's fun to read with a good, strong narrative that keeps people there.
And it's not, I mean, I think that's the thing, is that when it becomes a historical document, there's always, because it inevitably will be, it'll be a point of reference where people go, well, in this book that this travel writer has written, they've put this out as fact.
Yeah.
So, but I guess that's just the malleable nature of time anyway. Things shift around anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. Because I opened the first thing of your book where it goes, you know, the opening sort of thing is you're leaving King's Cross or whatever, Paddington, wherever the fuck it is. And you got this sense of a train, you're moving backwards, but a train's moving forwards. I was like, fucking cliche. Everyone's written that. I mean, woo. But actually, I understand why you opened with that, because it's a familiar fucking entry point that everyone knows.
Everyone knows that feeling where you just think, oh, hang on, what's... And it's only a split-second thing, but you always have that feeling of, oh, hang on a minute. Oh, it's us that's moving. And it's a very natural thing, and it's something really relatable. You want people to immediately know what that feeling is. And I think ultimately you want, when you're writing a travel book, you want people to enjoy being with you, because they're literally traveling with you that whole book. And you want them to know where they are. And if for a minute you think, I'm just not feeling this anymore, I don't trust you, I don't believe what you're saying, and you're going to lose.
You're basically talking shit like you would to a mate. And if their mate's just talking bollocks, like, I don't listen to what the fuck
switch off and say, I'm not interested in anything anymore. But you've got to keep them there. You've got to suddenly remind them that you can smell some amazing biryani in the next compartment. And then they're like, oh, hang on a minute, let's see what happens here.
So how much of it is like sort of literary fluff that you add? How much of it is reality? And then how much of it is, when I say reality, I mean the honest truth, like we're saying, talking to a friend or whatever. You've got this idea of this ideal reader, and you want to keep that narrative flow for the entirety of the book, which is, you said it's a quick read, but I'm a slow reader, so I'm like, what the fuck? But keeping that conversation going versus the literally fluff and painting those pictures versus the arduousness of, fuck, I've got to reach this word count by the end of the day.
So I like to have a good mix of all of it. Like especially with a good chapter, you need to know what your point of that chapter is.
Right.
What are the points that you want to convey to people? So with the North Korea one, I want people to know how it feels to travel there, how they can get there, who are the kind of people they're going to meet, what kind of conversations they're going to be able to have, what are the sites they're going to see, and I'm probably going to have 4 or 5 really strong points of discussion. Like I'm having a discussion with you about what it feels like to be there and the ethical reasons behind being there, and each of those will be built into a paragraph or 2.
A bit of fluff, a bit of filler between the bricks.
So,
maybe.
so there's you sprout it together with enough description that people think, okay, I can smell that kimchi that was boiling on the table while you're having this chat with someone. And you can feel how cold it is in this damp bed. You just want to bring your reader to where you are. That's the most important thing. You bring them there and they can decide for themselves. And I think for me, that's the key bit. I want people to make their decision about how they feel about a place. I'm not going to tell you it's a fucking shithole and I don't think you should come here, but I'm going to show you through the people that I meet or the kind of situations that I end up in that this might not be the best place that you want to end up in, or this might not be a very fun place to travel in. But I'm not going to tell you I hated it and it was awful and I wished I'd never come. You can deduce that yourself. It might be somewhere that you actually think, you know what, this sounds nightmarish, but I want to go. I want to see it for myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really difficult, it's a difficult line to tread with travel writing, to not put yourself hear from this person anymore.
You've got to be open and accessible still, and a voice that people want to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have an inner monologue?
Yeah, I do, definitely. And that goes into my diary when I'm writing. So when I take my notes, I have a diary. I have a big fat leather bound thing where I just write how I'm feeling.
Don't want to know about your personal life, love, with
leather.
Keep your big fat leather things to yourself, love. Come on.
My kids just bought me football.
Your kid's got mad comedic timing. That's fucking perfect. That is wicked. Here's mommy's dildo for Dak.
But yeah, so so anyway, I make my notes. I don't make notes in a diary. I have them in a little notebook.
Yeah.
If I see things and I think, that dude's got spinach in his teeth, I'm going to write that down. But then the actual diary, I write how I'm feeling about a place. And
Right.
that's the stuff that I come back to later. And I think now, because it's very easy to have all the notes, the photos, the menus, the receipts. So you remember exactly where you were and all the facts about what was going on, what it looked like. But it's often easy to forget how you felt in a place. And you might think, in hindsight, that was really fun. But then you think, actually, was it? Because it was cold and it was late and we couldn't get any food and I was tired. And I really wanted to go to bed and I really just didn't feel good in this place. And you forget that because in hindsight, everything always looks much better. And those are the things that I always try and remember when I'm sort of keeping the diary stuff. So it's the whole writing process is a big combination of things. It's a big jigsaw.
I was talking to a friend of mine about my whole trip through China and how in landing in Beijing, there were some recommendations of which bars to go to and stuff. So went out, got fucked up in this bar where they had Reka vodka, which is this Icelandic vodka that I love. So I was like, okay, let's make some vodka martinis. And there was a Russian dude in there, a sort of a Chinese bartender and us. And we were all communicating via my phone that had a VPN and Google Translate.
Brilliant.
So we had to VPN it. Easy, Yazzie. What up, party people? She does this every fucking time. I love Yazzie. Wicked. But yeah, so we were communicating via this app and it was a shit show. So we just got messed up for like 3-4 hours. And then the Russian chap just like paid for the whole bar tab. And it was incredible.
Wow.
And the next morning I had to get
kindness of strangers.
It was incredible. And we were all having the greatest time and we were all from hi. How cute. We're all having the greatest time. But the thing that really sticks out, and this is what I mean by sort of travel anecdotes, right, as opposed to writing professionally. Yeah. This is shit that I can remember. I don't have to, put it in any sort of form that can be reread. Is that the next day I really needed to poo. And in China, there's all just public toilets everywhere. So I was a bit like, okay, I'm going to get a coffee. And I was shopping and stuff. And I was like, right, I need to go. So I walked into the gents and it was just like
Michelle!
3 whole... Michelle's here. Yay.
Yay.
So I went into the loo and it was just like 3 dudes, like 3 holes in the floor, and 1 dude squatting, reading a paper, having a fag while he was just there shitting. And I was like, I don't have the gumption right now to just squat next to you, bruv. Like I've got to fucking bounce and go with somewhere with the door. And you know what I mean? Like I don't need a fucking seat to shit. I can squat and shit, but I need privacy. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that I would recount to my friends like Michelle. Big up Michelle in the comments. And yourself.
So,
big up yourself. But turning that into prose is a whole other fucking art.
You know what? It's really funny that you bring that up because when I was in Beijing, I personally didn't have a similar thing, but the mate who I was traveling with did. So my friend Adrian lives out in Beijing. We did journalism together at City, and he went out to work for Time Out Beijing as their editor. And he now works for Koryo Tours, the guys who got me into Korea. It's that North Korean company.
Okay.
So he has a bit of an issue with these toilets. So he said, so apparently these toilets all popped up during the Olympics, 2008. He said this wasn't a thing in Beijing before then.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, not at all. So he said the Beijing toilet thing, they discovered, and this is an absolute fact from his mouth, every 800 meters in Beijing, there's a public toilet.
Yeah.
And that was the thing they had to put into effect for the 2008 Olympics. And he told me that when he was wandering around, he couldn't deal with the fact that there's no toilet because he said everyone just takes the toilet paper when it's in there. So he would go to a shop and he would buy a massive stack of toilet roll and he would go and have a shit. But then, of course, he didn't really want to walk around town with all the toilet rolls. So he'd go around all the cubicles, stocking it with toilet paper.
What a fucking good chap. That's awesome. Like, fair play.
That's not the best thing ever.
That's awesome.
And he said he does it every time. And he said, I keep going and buying like 9 packs of toilet roll and just stocking the toilets.
But just take a pack of tissues with you.
Yeah, you could, but
you
never know when it's just going to suddenly take you by surprise, can you?
Well, that's true. That is true. But you know what my new purchase is, which is fucking amazing?
Tell.
It's because going on tour to India, I really love bum hoses where you just spray your bum and you wipe it down. It's all very clean. You wash your bottom. You don't just dry wipe, right? So
yeah,
coming back to England and then dry wiping just feels a bit incomplete. You know, it's just like...
I know. Mate, I wipe two babies' bums about 9 times a day. I know what the incomplete feels
There you
like.
go. And there's that famous outtake from Parks and Recreation where the character Andy Dwyer is like, sometimes I just wipe and wipe, and it's like rubbing a marker. It just keeps going. It's just doesn't end. But the point I was trying to make is that there's this amazing battery-powered bidet that I got, right?
What?
Yes. You know what? Actually, fuck it. I'll show you. Let me just take this with me. We're going to
God,
go show you. I'm going to show you. This is just fucking brilliant, right? So this thing I've recommended to a lot of our friends, right? It looks like a dildo, but it's not, right? Hang on, right?
Somebody signed out.
This thing, right? So you fill this bit with water, right?
Okay.
That's got a battery in it, and the water comes out there.
Oh my God, that's
It's
amazing.
fucking amazing. Hey, big up Bobby.
I love the fact that 2 people have signed out since you started talking about washing your bum.
I don't give a shit. This is exactly what the chat's about, like real talk. Or like dirty chat. Or chitter chatter, as I call it. Like proper bum talk. But it's legit, man. We all shit at least once a day. I mean, there you go.
Oh God.
But yeah, I'll get you a link to that thing, because that thing has been like amazing.
I'm going to take that on my travels.
I think 100%. So. But Chalo, thank you for joining me. There was one more question I had. I think before I let you go to your children and your general destruction, which was that if you were like pressured into writing something about being brown and female,
yeah,
what's the one job you'd take on?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Probably about, I have talked about it in travel. I have talked about being brown and female in travel because there's just kind of none of us. That's not strictly true. I can name 1, 2, 3 other people. There's Ginny Reddy, who's a great travel writer on nature. There's Taran Khan, who just won the Stanford Dolman Travel Award. An amazing book called Shadow City about a woman walking around Kabul.
Shadow City.
And it's a beautiful book. I was actually on the judge panel for that book and was very pleased that it was almost unanimously decided that she was going to win.
I just wrote Shadow Sitting because of the Lou reference. I'm going to change that to City.
Idiot.
Yeah, Shadow City.
And then Nanjala Nyabola, who's written an incredible book called Traveling While Black. It's phenomenally good.
Awesome.
But I really can't think of very many people, if I'm very honest.
Well, lovely. Let's catch up for a drink soon.
We will catch up.
And thank you for this evening.
Thank you very much for having me. It was very fun.